In the ancient oak that towered over Whispering Valley lived Corvus, a crow unlike any other. While his flock spent their days collecting shiny trinkets and cawing about their treasures, Corvus preferred solitude and observation. He would perch on the highest branch, watching the world below with curious eyes that missed nothing. The other crows mocked him. "What good is a crow who doesn't treasure the sparkle of things?" they would caw. "Our ancestors have collected bright objects since time began." But Corvus remained unmoved by their tradition. Something deeper called to him. The patterns of nature, the rhythm of life unfolding beneath his watchful gaze. One scorching summer, drought descended upon the valley. The creek that had always flowed through the heart of their territory shrank to a trickle, then vanished altogether. Animals began to suffer, and even the mighty oak's leaves started to yellow and curl. The murder of crows grew desperate. They cawed and complained, blaming each other and every other creature for their misfortune. Some began to abandon their nests, preparing to migrate ahead of season. "We must find water or perish," declared the eldest crow, whose feathers had turned gray with age. "Our treasures mean nothing now." While the others squabbled over which direction to fly, Corvus remained silent, watching. For days he had noticed something peculiar. Each morning, a faint gleam appeared briefly on a distant hillside, vanishing as the sun climbed higher in the sky. None of the other crows had noticed, too consumed by their immediate distress. That evening, as the flock prepared to leave their dying home, Corvus finally spoke. "I may know where water hides," he said quietly. The others fell silent, turning skeptical eyes toward the odd crow they had long dismissed. "What would you know of water?" scoffed a large crow with a silver ring around his leg. "You who collects nothing but silence?" "I collect observations," Corvus replied, "and I've observed something that gleams differently than your trinkets." With reluctance, the desperate flock agreed to follow Corvus at dawn. As the first light broke across the horizon, he led them toward the distant hill. When they arrived, the other crows saw nothing but rocks and dusty earth. "You've wasted our precious time," they cawed angrily. "Wait," Corvus said, his voice steady despite their anger. "Watch where the light touches." As the sun rose higher, a brief flash appeared between two rocks, a reflection that lasted only moments. Corvus flew straight to it and landed on a narrow ledge. Behind it lay the entrance to a small cave, and inside, a spring bubbled up from deep within the earth, collecting in a clear pool before disappearing back into the ground. The flock drank gratefully, their parched bodies reviving with each swallow. They bathed their dusty feathers and filled their beaks to carry water back to the suffering creatures near their oak. "How did you find this when we all failed?" asked the elder crow, humbled. Corvus dipped his beak into the cool water before answering. "You all looked down, searching for things that catch light. I looked up and out, watching for reflections of what might be hidden." In the days that followed, the crows made regular journeys to the secret spring. They carried water in leaves and moss, saving not just themselves, but many creatures in the valley. The oak tree's leaves grew green again, and gradually life returned to their home. The other crows no longer mocked Corvus. They began to understand that true treasure wasn't found in collecting bright objects, but in seeing the world deeply, in noticing what others miss, and finding connections between seemingly unrelated things. Corvus continued his watchful ways, but now younger crows would often join him on his observation perch, learning to see beyond the obvious. They discovered that sometimes the most valuable gifts come not from what you gather and keep, but from what you notice and share. When autumn finally brought rain back to the valley, the flock celebrated with a great gathering. At its center stood Corvus, no longer an outsider, but recognized as the keeper of their most important treasure, wisdom. "Our ancestors collected shiny things because they reflected light in darkness," the elder crow proclaimed to the gathered flock. "But Corvus has taught us that sometimes we must be the mirror ourselves, reflecting what we see so others may find their way." And so it became known throughout the forest that the crows of Whispering Valley were special, not for their collection of trinkets, but for their gift of perception. They learned to value the quiet observers among them, understanding that different kinds of seeing bring different kinds of treasure. As for Corvus, he continued watching from his high branch, content in knowing that true worth comes not from possessing the shiniest object, but from possessing the clearest vision. If this story sparked a new way of seeing, don't forget to like and subscribe for more tales that reflect the world a little differently.